and I've had every type of situation come into my office.
Yeah.
I had a Hollywood actor come into my office who I admire from afar. I've never met him before. He came into my office and he goes, "May I close the door?" And I was like, "Sure. Nice to meet you, dude. I love your work." Closed the door and burst into tears.
Welcome back to the Fode Philosophy. You have your host, Pierson Fode, and we have our guest host, Mark the Man Dohner. And today's guest is a celebrity trainer, the man, the myth, and the legend, Eric the Trainer.
Ow, 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 ow. You should say Eric the Celebrity Trainer.
Ooh,
Oh.
Eric
You
the
only
train
Celebrity
celebrities?
Trainer.
No, I
So
train.
that's why you won't get me in. That's
We train everyone. We have a great time with everyone. We're on
Yeah.
a mission.
How did you get into training?
You know, I moved to New York after college, and
Where'd you go to college?
I went to college in Connecticut at a small school that no one had ever heard of called Quinnipiac, and
Say
took
that 5 times fast.
Quinnipiac, and I took classes at Yale. It was really great, but when I moved to New York City, I decided I wanted to have some fun, and so I was offered a job in a law firm. I was offered a job in a publishing house. None of the jobs I was offered were paying very well or interesting, so I went to the gym to work out, and the woman who ran the gym looked at me and said, "You look like you have a lot on your mind." And I said, "I do. I was offered all these jobs here in Manhattan and I don't want to take any of them." And she said, "Why don't you work here?" And I said, "I wish. I love fitness, but I have to get a real job." And she said, "How much are they offering you as a starting salary?" And I told her, and she said, "We'll match it." So I started working as a trainer. I thought it was a great way to just get to know New York, meet girls, learn how to play guitar, have fun. And it became a great career. I fell in love with the process of taking someone from normal to extraordinary.
Yeah. I mean, we only just started working together in the last technically like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And you've taken me, I literally have gained 11 pounds in 3 weeks, which is awesome on itself. But like my shelf has expanded in such a crazy way.
Listen, I'm here to transform you into the man you always were.
I mean, we're trying to get Mark there. We
look, we're gonna get me there.
Yes, Mark is my next victim. I can't
Dude,
wait to transform.
I know. I fucking need it too, because like I was working out really good. I lost a lot of weight, and I was really happy with myself. And then quarantine hit, and I fucked up.
Well, don't worry. With me around, you're going to look at Mark and you're going to think, did he and Tarzan get into a car accident and they could only save one person and it was a combination of Tarzan and Mark? The answer is yes.
And then
I
I'd
see
be
the
flying
future.
through the jungle.
Yeah, man. Meet me in 21 days.
Mark's
Done.
gonna get jacked.
And you're saying it's only gonna take 21 days
21 days.
to do
Absolutely.
what? Just like see
To
a
go
difference?
to go from normal to extraordinary, man. Your shoulders will get broader, your waist will get smaller, your jawline will get sharper.
Mark's already got a very sharp jawline.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, he'll be opening mail like this. Oh, it's a letter from my mother.
Dude, I need that in my life.
Excellent.
I'll have to be taking a break from YouTube, guys, so I could focus solely on
Getting
fitness
jacked.
and health and wealth.
Getting freaking huge.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. I can't wait.
I'm
Count me
excited.
in.
Dude, so I met you through my buddy Chris Wolf, and I started working out at your gym. Your gym's dope because you have like the outside location, which is where we're working out right now.
Yes.
And then you have the inside location, which has like the boxing and stuff. And I can't wait to get back into all of that equipment when quarantine opens it back up for us. But like when you moved to LA, did you plan on having a gym here?
No, actually, I moved to Los Angeles to learn from the greats. I wanted to learn from Jack LaLanne, who's my professional mentor. I wanted to learn from Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wanted to learn from Lou Ferrigno, all the greatest minds in fitness and bodybuilding. That was my goal. And I started training actors. And the next thing you know, I got kind of sucked up into the Hollywood world where suddenly my work was on screen. It was in magazines. And then I saw, oh, these different actors become megaphones for the work that you do. And it really worked out well. And I never wanted to be in the gym business. But then all the gyms in the valley where I had set up shop, the quality of the experience went down. And out of necessity, I opened up our gym, the ETT Mecca in Hollywood, and we're so happy there. We've been there for years now.
Yeah.
And luckily, we do have an outside region. So you and I have had some big workouts.
Dude, literally today, I was just gassed. At the end of it, I was just like sitting there with like, I think last time, actually, when Saxon, you and me worked out, I threw up.
Oh, man.
It was so good.
Again?
That is
Yeah.
insane.
Like in your mouth or like full blown like
No, I
vomit?
it was like one of those moments where you're working out and it was so good. And then like, I was just like, it's either I'm going to sit on the side for the next 15 minutes and try and keep it down, or I can just drop the load and come back and keep working out.
Whoa.
So I just let her
Bro,
go.
it's like high school football practice.
Really?
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it because for me, like working out is a form of therapy. Like I love going into like a yoga studio. I think that's great. But to be honest, like I live a very high paced lifestyle. Mark and I both do. And for me, my moment to like meditate and get away and get out a lot of like the tension that's been building up from all the like conversations.
From his trashy roommate.
From his shitty roommate. Fuck you, dude. No, actually, Mark's a fucking great roommate, to be fair. But like the world around us is really insane in the entertainment industry. And so like for me to be able to come to the gym and like have you push me, it's like an exorcism of all of like the bad news throughout the day, or like even the good news. It's just whatever is happening in that moment. It's like therapy.
So cool. Well, I can tell you that the very best trainers develop a trust with their clients where the client comes in and the trainer can guide them through a workout, and the client can almost shut off their brain and not think about it because they know that the trainer has their best intentions in mind. The trainer would never hurt them. And actually it's in my interest to make you better. I'm a guy that takes some of the most watched people in the world who are considered to be great, and my job is to make them better. And so I take that very seriously. I love working out with you, and I'll tell you, this movie coming up for you is going to be incredible. I can't wait.
Shout out, man, from Toronto, Kevin Hart, Woody Harrelson, Kaylee Kuko. I'm coming for you. What's up? What's good? You want to fight me? I can't handle
I have
smoke.
a question.
Yes.
When we worked out, we did different body parts in that workout. Why is that? Why didn't, like, usually, you know, when like normal people, not normal people, but like
Peasants.
me, like I don't know shit about working out. It's like, oh, Monday's chest, Tuesday's back, but we did like chest, back. Did we do a little bit of shoulder exercise? Why did you do that?
No, that's a great question. To answer your question, I'm obsessed with nothing but results. And as a trainer here in Hollywood, I personally am judged by the industry on the results I can create in a client, and they want it fast.
Yeah.
Many times 21 days is the longest I have with a client. Sometimes it's 11 days. Sometimes it's 4 days. I had a client once who was getting ready for an MMA movie. The star dropped out. He was called in. We had 4 days to get him ready to look like an MMA fighter. He looked nothing like an MMA fighter 4 days beforehand. 4 days later, he looked pretty darn good. Like there was a definite change. And so rather than doing exercise, there's nothing wrong with exercise on the old school schedule that you're talking about. What I do is I look at each client and I imagine a perfect, amazing version of them. And then I look back at the client and I see what's missing. And those are the things that we attack. And so the same way, if I said to either one of you, hey, I know you guys are going to go for a drive tomorrow. How many left turns are you going to make? You would say, how would I know? I mean, I sort of play it live. Well, as a trainer in Hollywood, I have to play it live. When you come in, your body is a living, breathing organism that changes in different ways. And so, you know, Pierson and I did some big chest and back today. If he comes in on Wednesday and I look at him and his chest and back are not prominent, in order to give him that physical relevance, we're doing chest and back again. We're not on a schedule. We're all about result. Because ultimately, when he stands up and goes onto the screen, people sitting in the dark looking up need to see something that they've never seen before, something that's unbelievable, something that yells physical relevance and handsomeness all combined.
Now, you know he's lacking that.
Damn it. Now, does it, we talked about this a little bit today, but like the kind of back to Mark's question, does it matter that you do a full day and you only focus on chest? Like, does it give your muscles the recovery that they need, or is it better to spread it out? And then like, I asked the question, I was like, what is it better to do 100 pull-ups in one day or 150 over a week?
Right. I thought that was a great question. Well, I would first like to distinguish for your listeners the difference between athleticism and aesthetics. And so athleticism is the ability to use your muscles to complete tasks. And if you think about someone who needs to be really athletic, think about the Navy SEALs. I mean, think about an NFL player. Think about a military guy or someone in the NFL. They need to be in shape for their job. As far away as you could ever get from those people on the other side of the world of fitness, that's where I live with actors, bikini models. That's all about looks. That's using fitness as a tool to transform your body. If you look at a Navy SEAL, they're very strong and lean, but their proportion is not necessarily desirable. If you look at a comic book, most people don't look like the drawings in comic books, but it's my job to make you look that way.
Yeah.
So things have to be a little out of proportion. I need to make your shoulders a little broader and your chest a little bigger and your waist a little smaller for you to have that superhero look. That's what I'm good at.
Dope. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Do you ever do like reverse transformations? Like I know Christian Bale is like goes full psycho and like Matthew McConaughey, like, you know, in Dallas Buyers Club. Do you ever do reverse transformation?
I have. I had a couple actors that needed to gain a lot of weight for roles, and they were a little nervous about it. The latest one was a show that I love called Mindhunter on Netflix.
So
Holt
good.
McCallany, who was in Fight Club, he had to gain a lot of weight to play that
Was he in
detective.
Fight Club?
He was kind of the right-hand guy of Brad Pitt and Edward Norton. He was in the car when it crashed.
Yes,
and
I know
also,
who you're talking about.
He's the guy that said his name was Robert Paulson. His name was Robert Paulson.
Dude, that guy's great.
Yeah. So anyway,
He's a
Holt
beast.
McCallany, terrific actor, one of
Yeah.
my favorite actors in the world. He had to gain some weight for Mindhunter.
Like
fat.
not muscle.
And here's the problem. Right afterwards, we had to get him in shape for an action movie, a huge action movie. And so we went for it. We did all of our secret exercises. We made his waist small, his shoulders broad. We changed him so much in so short of a time, he ended up in Muscle and Fitness magazine.
Really?
So it was pretty exciting. Yeah.
Wow. What and like if you're somebody like Christian Bale, and he always talks about just eating like moon pies and like just going to town on like an apple pie for a month straight and just pushing in as much calories as possible. Do you recommend something like that for someone, or is it?
I really don't. There are ways to fake being in shape. Like if someone comes up to me that doesn't look that great and says, hey, I just got the biggest movie role of my life and we have 6 days, there's a way that I can exercise with them in those 6 days where actually when they're done, the illusion will be grand that they're in great shape, even though we only had 6 days. The same is true for gaining weight. There are ways to wear your clothes and stand where you don't have to become really, really fat, but you appear to be out of shape. And that was actually illustrated. I used to, my son's school used to have these big gatherings, and I would go there and people would tease me. They were like, oh, here comes the trainer, here comes the trainer. Well, one day someone sent me a shirt that I was wearing that was not cut in a flattering way. It came straight down, and one of the dads came up to me and said, finally, you're looking like the rest of us. And I thought, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is the illusion of being normal. So it was pretty cool.
Wait, but you told me today that you're turning 52?
I'll be 52 in February.
Bro, that's nuts.
52.
Yo, if I can look like you at 40, I would be so stoked.
Well, on my planet, just kidding. No. I think the fountain of youth is exercise. I think the fountain of youth is getting enough sleep, and I think the fountain of youth is lowering your stress in your life. I think that if you spend time with someone that you actually love as your partner, and if you surround yourself with friends that care about you and support you in what you do, I think you can live forever. And I'm going to try.
You just got married.
I did. I got married, man.
Alicia's here with us.
Beautiful Alicia, the girl of my dreams. My muse is right over there, and I'm very lucky to wake up and see her smiling face.
So you've gotten most of those things accomplished as far as like exercise. Do you get consistent sleep?
I do. I sleep
How
like
many
there's
hours?
no tomorrow.
How many hours?
You know, I try to go to bed usually around 10-ish and get up around 6-ish. So I'm about 8 hours a night, because it turns out that the hours before midnight are worth nearly twice as much from a health and fitness standpoint as the hours after. So Pierson, if you went to bed at midnight and woke up at 8 or 9, you would not be as handsome as if you went to bed at 10 and woke up at 6 or 7.
So you're telling me that I could be more handsome if I didn't have insomnia.
Oh, yes. I'm telling you, insomnia.
Here's what I don't get. You say you're like, yeah, I need 8 hours of sleep and shit. And then you got people out here like The Rock and like, I get up at 4, and Wahlberg.
Yeah.
They're like, I get up at 4 a.m. I don't fucking sleep.
Yeah.
There's no way they don't sleep.
Right.
You know?
Are they lying? Come on.
I don't think they're lying, but I think they're not telling you that they go to bed at 7:30, which
Right.
I'd miss a lot of my favorate shows.
Yeah, for real. I feel like we're being lied to a little bit on all of that stuff. I have
At
chronic
least
insomnia.
Is it okay to? What if you do 4-hour increments, right? 4 hours and then 4 hours, still get 8 hours? Is that bad?
You know, I wouldn't necessarily break it up. In the old days, like way, way, way long ago, people used to sleep for 4 hours, and they would wake up in the middle of the night and they would work and read and do things by candlelight and then go back to sleep. But I think uninterrupted rest gives you the best result. I can tell you this, and this is something very interesting. This is an exclusive for your show. The human body can only transform during slumber. Meaning that if you came to Hollywood and worked out with me, if you ate all of the right foods that we designed for you, everything was on point, you still would not change without sleep. And so by increasing the time that you're sleeping, and this is good sleep, including the hours before midnight, it actually puts you at a major, major advantage. Sleep is to the body what an oven is to cookie dough. It's when all transformation occurs.
That's
Cookie
really
dough's
interesting.
good raw.
It is.
Cookie dough is fire.
Where did you find this co-host?
Point.
I know. This guy is a YouTube star for sure. I know. I want that on a t-shirt. Cookie dough is good raw.
That's a really good point. And I know a lot of like my fans specifically have like emailed me about like insomnia. I specifically have some sort of genetic problem where there's some DNA is misfiring inside of my body. And when I did my first sleep study, I slept for like 15 minutes at a time. And they were like, you're fucked. And there was, by the time I had gone in, I didn't sleep for like 3 or 4 days straight. And I called my manager and I was like, bro, I'm having a panic attack because I'm not sleeping. And I was like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. He's like, you probably are. And so he recommended a doctor, and I got into the doctor, and the doctor was like, let's get you in a sleep study. Let's give you some like Xanax and calm you down. Right. And I finally got a couple hours of sleep. And then we went in, drug free, just to see how my body and brain worked. And they were like, I woke up the next day, and it was like an 8-hour window that they put me in. And they were like, well, you got about total 45 minutes to an hour of sleep in the 8-hour window. Yeah. And that was fairly common for me as well. And then they were like, so we definitely want to get you on some sleeping pills. We want to get your body like back in its circadian rhythm and allow it to get some sleep. And now I get between like, on days where I can actually sleep, between like 4 and 7 pretty consistently.
Okay.
But before it was an absolute nightmare. But I know specifically my body, I looked good, but I felt like it's like a plant without water. That's the only way I can describe it. It was like I just felt miserable. And for modeling, I guess that looks great on camera. Yeah. But that's kind of like the stage that I was at. What do you recommend for listeners that are like me? I went in, I found a neurologist, and we worked on it, and it was like barely within my budget to do stuff like that. What about listeners at home that don't have that kind of budget?
For your listeners at home, I would recommend 3 things. One is when you wake up in the morning, no matter how you feel, exercise then. Give yourself a rigorous exercise experience first thing in the morning, then take a shower, have some breakfast, and start your day. It'll get your metabolism going, and it'll also get the blood flow and the circulation going. And throughout the day, you should start to tire, especially near the end of the day. The other thing I'd like your listeners to do is create a food curfew for themselves, meaning no food after either 6:30 or 7, because your body ultimately is like a machine. And if you don't give a machine fuel, it starts to shut down. So if your listeners stop eating all food, no matter what, as if you were on medication at 6:30, by 9:30 or 9:45, they're going to start to get tired because their machine is without fuel. We want you to give into those feelings. We want you to get into bed. And I think that'll help a lot.
What about ones that work like swing shift that are like, they're pulling an all-nighter? Or would you just recommend moving the window of eating and sleep for them?
It's pretty tough. And I'll tell you why. There is a circadian rhythm that has to do with the sun and the way the world moves, where your body wants to be on that schedule. And if you're on an opposite schedule, because we do deal with some actors that shoot all night and then they have to sleep all day. Yeah. Sometimes it causes like major medical issues. It can be very, very challenging. But my advice to you is, if you are working all night and you need to sleep during the day, make the room cool. Make sure there are blackout curtains so that it's very, very dark. And worst comes to worst, Dwayne Johnson has a show called The Titan Games. If you can stay awake during that, it's a miracle. That show's pretty boring. I think just put it on in the background.
Shots fired.
and you'll be fine.
That's great.
Sorry.
Yo, Dwayne Johnson, what's good, baby? Check out these thighs.
If you're trying to get in shape, what's the absolute worst thing? Alcohol or sugar? Or something different?
If you're trying to get into shape, well, first of all, I usually want people to define what that means to get into shape, because I had a very nice older woman walk into my office and say to me, I'm never putting on a bikini. And I said, well, that's great. I'm Eric the trainer. How can I help you? And she said, I'm telling you that because I don't care about my good looks. I just signed up to be a missionary in Ghana, and I need to walk 2 or 3 miles with buckets of water to help these people. Being in shape for different people means different things.
Yeah.
For the actor, it means looking their best on screen. For that woman, it meant getting in shape so she could carry water to help these poor people over there. But in general, most people want to look better. They want to feel better. Yeah. They want people that know them well to comment, wow, you're looking terrific, which means smaller waist, which means a sleek, strong body. With men, we try to give them a little more physical presence, a little more physical relevance. So more Tarzan-esque, broad shoulders, small waist. And there are ways of doing that. We actually combine functional exercise, body weight with weights. So we'll do a bench press, we'll do a fly, but we'll also do a lot of push-ups.
Yeah.
And it kind of hides the lines. Like I could show you photographs of people that work out in the gym all the time and they look kind of like bodybuilders or wannabe bodybuilders. And I can show you people that only swim and only hike. And
Swimmers got huge shoulders.
Dude,
Yeah, they
Michael
do.
Phelps looks
Oh
just
yeah.
like
Yeah, he does.
crazy.
I actually ran into Michael Phelps at a party with Muhammad Ali one day, and he came up to me and he goes, "Guess what? I don't want to swim anymore. I'd like to work out." It was
Really?
so cool. I was like, "You can't say that. You're Michael Phelps. You're unbelievable." Yeah,
He's insane.
he was such a nice guy. That guy
Is he
incredible.
still like?
He eats like 12,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
20,000.
Did you were you in contact with him when he was training for the Olympics at all?
You know, I just saw him at a couple events, and he was always super nice to us,
Yeah.
to me. And I was with Billy Blanks, the Taibo creator, and
Yeah.
he was great with us. And he's a super nice guy. And I know he likes to coach swimmers also. So he not only is a competitive swimmer himself, but he also likes to mentor other swimmers.
I want to talk about this a little bit because you have the most crazy connections in Hollywood, like the most famous people of all time you
Come
work
on.
with. No, seriously, like I walk into the room, he's like, "Yeah, I was just hanging out with Def Leppard yesterday," and then also like I just made a song. Also, by the way, Eric has a song out. It's your band's name is called Main Monster. Just tell us a little bit about this. Really
Oh, cool. During COVID, I was teaching classes online. I love teaching online. It's so much fun. And then after the classes were over, I would work out a little bit. I'd do a lot of push-ups in my house, and then I would take a shower and I'd sit in my underwear and write songs on the acoustic guitar. And many of those songs,
Just like Mark, actually.
yes, dude.
I don't wear underwear though.
We are brothers.
I'm just dicking balls out. So sorry you had to touch that guitar.
And so a lot of the songs were about my fiance, now wife, Alicia. She's kind of my muse when it comes to music. And one of the things I love about Alicia is, despite any kind of success I have in Hollywood, despite what magazine I'm in, or how much money I make, or how many cool celebrities I train, she could actually care less. She just loves me for who I am, which
Yeah.
is so wonderful. And so I wrote a song called "I'm Yours" that's sort of ironic about a unimpressed girlfriend.
We might have a little guitar here just to hear it. Is that possible?
That is so possible, man.
Yes.
That's so possible. Anyway, I wrote this song, which I'll play a little bit of, and I went into the studio when the world opened up again. I went into the studio in Hollywood with a really cool producer who's known as Wolves. He's really, really cool guy. Worked with a lot of different artists. And I started to record the song. I went to work and I told some of my clients that I had gone into the studio. Well, Mike from Nickelback, the bass player, said, "I'm playing bass." And Aviv from Air Supply said, "I'm playing drums." And Yerg from Lifehouse was like, "I'm playing guitar." So the next thing you know, we sort of had an all-star band. We recorded together and the song came out really well. We released it on all the streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, and we're giving 100% of the proceeds to charity, to Feeding America, to help restock food banks.
That's really cool. Yo, you guys go stream Main Monster, go download it, go buy it, and go fucking just champ up Eric. That's so cool. You literally have a super band.
It's so fun. It's really cool.
That's wild.
I mean, I grew up looking at superheroes and comic books, and now I'm playing with a lot of my heroes in the music world. And trust me, I'm not a musician. I'm a trainer that plays music. There's a big difference. But I can tell you that if you have the creative spirit and you know a lot of people that are super talented, they actually make you look good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like playing basketball with a bunch of NBA players. The people are like, "Hey, that's kind of cool."
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
What, give us a sample.
All right, cool. Should I move this forward?
Yeah. So Tyler, what's going to be the best way to get all this? Okay.
Should I play it softly? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Tyler.
I made a fortune in LA. I'm on the television night and day. And lo, behold, I'm yours, I'm yours. I bought a house that ain't a home. I've got a teenage girlfriend, she's all grown. And lo, behold, I'm yours, I'm yours. But she could never learn to love LA. She could never. She would rather dance all night and play alone. She will never know, and I should let her go. But the radio stays on all night. The radio stays on all night. I've got a dog that barks all night.
Let's go. That's our first musical guest. That's it.
All right.
Yo, you're a beast, man.
Oh, listen, man. So I wrote that song in my underwear on my couch about my fiance. And now you go on Apple Music and you can hear it fully realized with professional musicians. We're having a great time.
Yeah.
I tried to make it as catchy as possible, and all the proceeds go to charity, so it feels good.
Dude, it's awesome. I listened to it. I'll move this back to your face a little bit for you.
Awesome.
I listened to it and I was like, damn, it's so cool because it's reminiscent of like old school 80s rock and roll. Plus it's got this very like modern tonality to it. And I loved it. I was like, dude, I honestly didn't think it was you when I first heard it. And I was like, come on, who the fuck is actually doing this? But it was dope.
It was Mark.
Yeah, was it you, Mark?
That make me sound good too, though.
For real. But that's cool, man. I mean, so you train a lot of those guys. You train Air Supply. You train Def Leppard. You train those guys.
I've had the chance to train a lot of my favorite musicians of my entire life.
Who's your favorite musician?
I mean, here's the thing. When I was 13 years old, I lived on a farm in Maine. We had pigs. We had sheep. We even had a donkey. We'll get to that later. And I listened to Def Leppard on my cassette tape, and I watched The Karate Kid, the movie, and I thought to myself, like, how is life going to work out? My parents aren't famous. My parents aren't rich. I'm in the middle of nowhere. How is this all going to happen? Flash forward years later, I live in Hollywood. I'm married to the girl of my dreams. I train the guys from Cobra Kai, which is the #1 show in the world right now, which is exciting.
The older guys or the younger guys?
Oh, the older guys. Yeah. Sweep the leg, Johnny. And we just came off tour with Def Leppard. They were actually touring for a while with Journey and then also with Tesla. And it's just fun to get to know these guys personally and sort of live out your dreams. So I'm a super lucky guy.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What's one of the most interesting things that you've seen from like a behind the scenes perspective of working with them?
You know, you would think that being on tour with a band like Def Leppard and Journey would get tiring after a while, just to go to the concerts every single night. But these guys know how to turn on the magic. Really? And so, you know, when at the end of the concert, when you hear "Just a Small Town Girl," you know, it's just "Don't Stop Believing." It brings like the hair on your arms up, and you see people in the audience from all over the world just crying and cheering and singing along. And there's something really special about music. I think music is something that like a great film, it brings out emotion in people. And it's the soundtrack of their lives.
What do you think that is that like keeps them? I mean, they've been touring and singing the same song for how many years? 20, 30 years?
Bro, it's everyone's go-to karaoke
song.
Yeah.
What do you think keeps them like so excited about it?
I think they love seeing the reaction of the crowd. And I also think that those songs were written so well back in the day that they still stand up today.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you listen to the 70s on Sirius Radio or the 80s and you hear those classic songs, it makes you wonder what songs that are currently on the radio will be loved 40 years from now or 50 years from now. It's kind of an interesting thing to think about because the songwriting back in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s, it was solid. I mean, it was really cool. When you hear the opening chords of "Smells Like Teen Spirit" by Nirvana, or if you hear the piano of "Don't Stop Believing," I mean, you immediately know that something special is about to happen. Yeah. And one of the ways you can tell that music is strong is go to any NFL game and listen to the music they play to pump up the crowd. It's like AC/DC from like 1979 or 1980. It's unbelievable.
That is actually true.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I was talking about that because I've obviously been doing music, and I'm like, yo, you don't ever like hear like guitar licks and stuff where it's like really memorable in like today's music.
Right.
Like all these classic songs that our parents grew up listening to. Well, you grew up listening to.
Yeah. I'm his dad. Yeah. I'm so proud of my son. You get a raise in allowance $1 a week.
But there's no like, I mean, in my opinion, like what are kids gonna like? Are they gonna throw on like Old Town Road and like, is that what we're gonna be like? Oh fuck, Old Town Road, you know, like stuff like that. Is that like I can't like, or Drake, I guess, but like I think the difference between like now's music and back then is like you dropped an album a year, right? Now it's like with streaming, you could drop like people just drop singles like every other week, you know, and it's just so much music. Versus back in the day, I feel like it wasn't as many acts, right?
Totally.
Right. No, I feel the same way. But also the music from the 70s, 80s, and even 90s, it actually made you feel a certain way. And I think a lot of the music of today is catchy and it's nice as background music, but it doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't make me feel something powerful. And so I'm wondering if maybe artists will emerge in today's era that will once again emote feelings in people.
That's a really good point. Like a lot of the artists back in the day were really storytellers.
Right.
like really, really good storytellers. And like, I think that's a challenging thing to do because you want to like, I mean, Mark, you probably talk about this more than I can, but I think it's such a challenge to trying to find the commercialism versus the artistry inside of it because you want it to go viral.
Well, the difference is now is everyone wants to be able to dance to the music, right? So like a lot of the storytellers are singer-songwriters, and it's like Louis Capaldi, and like, are you going to be like Someone You Loved, you know, like, are you going to play that at the club? No. Like, everyone wants music that they can bop their head to, and like Wet Ass Pussy, bro.
Like, the WAP.
Like music that's literally about fucking nothing. And then, I mean, I'm the same way. I like singer-songwriter stuff. I like the stuff that has like storytelling and meaning, but look at my most successful song. It's Threesome. You know? It's like
totally.
It's a joke, you know.
Right.
And my serious shit, it's okay. It does okay, but like that's what no one wants to listen to.
Memory
sad shit.
and No Love in L.A.
Exactly.
Versus Threesome. Threesome's a catchy song though.
Yeah, Threesome is a catchy song.
Yeah, but it's not important to me, you know.
Yeah.
Well, there's 3 of us here now.
Hey, well.
I know.
Tyler, please cut the cameras.
Exactly.
But that's an interesting evolution, and I think you've probably seen it the most throughout the years. Do you see a lot of like the guys from Def Leppard and that stuff talk about the evolution of music? Do they feel, because that's something that scares me a little bit as growing into my acting, like I'm starting to really hit my prime, but I don't want to like be that old guy that was like, back in my day we had real actors.
Yeah.
Right,
you know,
right,
and
right.
just be
They did do
begrudging.
that
Yeah.
When social media came along.
Yeah.
Like the actors were like, fuck social media.
No, literally.
You
Right,
know?
right. They were. They were.
Now they're all hopping on.
Yeah, for real.
I think the guys in Def Leppard and Journey and Nickelback, I think they derive inspiration from some of the artists of today. But I also think that they're smart enough to know that a song will always win over just a beat. And so like when you hear a song like Photograph, look at this photograph, or This Is How You Remind Me. Have you guys heard that song?
Oh, yeah.
This is how you remind me of who I really am.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to a Nickelback show, and hopefully when they go back on tour next year, you guys will come and we'll all hang out together. I mean, it's deafening. The crowd is singing back at them. And so they're definitely touching a chord, an important emotional chord where people love songs. You know, a song will do really, really well. So I think that the future of music, in my opinion, of lasting music, has to do with the power of songwriting.
Yeah.
Which is why Mark is in a good place. Threesome.
I'm hoping.
Absolutely. No, Mark's in a great place.
Yeah.
Also, Mark, I think this is me just boosting my boy really quick
Thanks.
because he's a fucking stud muffin. But like Mark's quality is in storytelling, and like he knows, because of the social media spectrum, like how to be the commercial guy that knows how to make something go viral, but also as the vlogger editor that he is, he knows how to tell a story. I mean, his background's in journalism.
Right.
And I think that's something that's really unique that I don't know anybody else in the industry that can quite tell a story like you. And I think that's a cool thing that you bring, you know.
Well, I mean, even when I write songs, everything's visual for me. Like I can't, you know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, brand new Lamborghini, fuck a cop car. You know, like I don't see that. So like when I like write my music, I try to tell a story. Like even Threesome, like you could visualize the whole thing. Met her out at the bar, took her back to her place, fell in love in the back seat of the taxi. You know, like to me, I'm just describing the whole like scene, even though that was made up.
So they say.
So really, was it made up?
Yeah.
It was the back of an Uber. It was slightly different.
There's no taxis.
Well, God, the last time I rode in a taxi was in New York on a movie, and that was it. I cannot tell you the next time I plan on riding in a taxi. It just sounds awful.
But
Speaking
they're all
of
in New
movies,
York.
though,
I mean, it's convenient in New York.
Right.
it is wildly convenient in New York because it's just like one stop to the next stop, just a couple blocks. Actually, speaking of movies, you told me a while back. Can I say this? I hope I can.
Yeah.
You worked on Dune. Is that correct? You worked with some of the guys on Dune?
D-U-N-E, Dune. Not on that one.
Not on that one?
Yeah.
Who else did you worked with? Some of the guys in DC. You've worked with guys in Marvel.
Oh my gosh! I mean, I've been in Hollywood for almost 25 years, and so I've trained and worked with a lot of the top professionals, actors, musicians, rock stars, celebrity chefs, and they all want to look and feel their best on camera. But they're all normal people that have insecurities and sometimes anxiety and sometimes trouble eating the right foods. It could be a real problem.
Is there Is there a superhero that you've worked with recently that you can tell us about?
You know, there's a superhero that I
Name drop. Come on.
Please. That's what we're asking for.
there are a couple superheroes that I'm working with right now that I'm not allowed to talk about, but I can tell you that their movies will be the biggest movies coming out soon.
Woo!
Yeah, very, very exciting.
Spill the tea.
And yeah, I mean, I there's nothing more gratifying as a trainer than seeing your work on screen. And so whether that's...
Do you get a credit in the movie or no?
Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But I can tell you that being part of the cast and crew at that group as a trainer it's a really special feeling. And then as things have gone well for me in Hollywood, I've also come on as a consultant where big movies will have trainers for their stars. But if the stars don't look good, then I'm like the executive trainer that comes in and has to fix it.
And tweet.
And that's always an interesting
Was
thing.
there a recent project? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what do you find most people struggle with the most? Like, do they the diet or workout regime or?
You know, I think that they're dedicated to the exercise and they're dedicated to the diet, but I think that true trainers are artists. And it's more than just proportion. It's looking at the person and giving something larger than life, physical relevance where they pop off the screen. And so if you take a guy, for example, like Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck was Batman.
Yeah.
And he worked out like crazy. And Ben's a big guy. He's way bigger than I am. But, you know, when you look at the shoulder to waist ratio, you have to ask yourself, to what extent am I willing to go? I like superheroes that have really small waists and really broad shoulders and oversized pecs, especially if you're going to wear a cape. Other trainers just get the clients into shape and sort of say, well, that's what it is. And then a lot of studios give padded suits to their actors.
Yeah.
And one of the big victories that we have right now is one of the superhero projects we're working on right now. The guy in the suit had to wear a padded suit, but now after working with me, no more pads
They
needed.
took the pads out.
So yeah, that's a good feeling.
I feel like there's a few guys like that where obviously they have like outlines in the suits, but like somebody like Henry Cavill or Ryan Reynolds, they both have like really jacked and like performed bodies. You know, it's the chiseling on inside of it and the size of it.
Well, I think both of the guys you just spoke about, Henry and Ryan, have seen their careers skyrocket as they've embraced fitness.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, like Henry Cavill, when he was over in Budapest working out at Flex Gym, he really, really, really took fitness to heart, where he went even beyond where he was in Superman. And I'm not sure which project it was for, but his latest physical incarnation, is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's really, really solid.
What I saw him on in The Witcher was like unreal. He was huge.
Huge.
And shredded.
Yeah. And if you guys are ever in Budapest, the greatest gym in the world, the best gym I've ever been in is Flex Gym in Budapest.
Oh, okay.
And it's where Arnold Schwarzenegger worked out before the ate Terminator and did a great job.
Didn't you help Arnold on the latest Terminator?
It's
and
where
some of the squad there.
It's where The Rock worked out for a year before Hercules.
Yeah.
It's a place where the best actors go. Actually, Josh Brolin is there right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's working on something big.
Ooh.
So
are you in contact with Josh?
I'm not in contact with Josh. Damn it. But I do know him from the gym.
That's dope.
Yeah. It's good. I'll tell you, it's an adventure to be in Hollywood, to work with all these different personalities. And so you go to the movies, you listen to the radio, and you're like, oh yeah, I can really feel my influence in these places. It's nice.
Yeah.
But my biggest, most exciting thing lately has been the online workouts, because I didn't realize when I was working at my gym, even though I was working with a lot of celebrities, I didn't realize that in the gym you can really have an impact on the people in front of you, but online you can touch people all over the world simultaneously. And so we started some online workout classes that have just exponentially grown. We have people all over the world. They work out together at the same time. And you were on my show last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Morning Glory Live.
Morning Glory Live. Yeah. It was really special. And they loved it.
It was an absolute blast. It's cool how you format it too, because like it's an absolute blast. You have puppets that come in and like do your thing, but also you're training a whole crew of people, and you're hosting a show, and you're interviewing a guest, which is like a wild thing to balance. And it's you and Alicia just going to town of like, all right, now you're doing this movement. Oh, okay. If you can't do that movement, adjust it like this.
Right.
What kind of inspired that whole thing?
Well, when COVID hit, there was a lockdown, especially here in Los Angeles. It was a stay-at-home order.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I went from being in the gym all the time with these amazing actors and musicians to now sitting on my couch. And I thought, what can I do to help? You know, Hollywood has been really good to me. What can I do to help? The one skill that I have that's very special is my ability to transform and motivate someone to change physically. And so through Zoom, we started these online workouts and we made them absolutely free to everyone during COVID. So the first day we had 18 people. The second day we had 36. The fourth day we had 52. It kept on getting bigger and bigger. And when we got into the thousands, there were people in India, there were people in Israel and Canada, all at the same time. These are live workouts. So I can see them and they can see me. I could actually correct them in real time. Like, good job, Mary. Hey, Simon, make your leg go up a little bit higher. Blah, blah. It was really, really special. And so to make the entertainment value even higher, we started asking celebrities to come on as guests each day.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like if Jack LaLanne hosted The Tonight Show. You know, if Jimmy Fallon said, you know, I've had enough, and a fitness guy came along, it was fitness entertainment. And so it went really, really well. We did it for 100 days for free during COVID. And then after 100 days, we transformed it into a subscription site. And now we train a couple hundred people every day.
So they can find you on, what would be the site?
They can go to my website, ericthetrainer.com, or they can go to morningglorylive.com to sign up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
How do you stand out as a trainer? Because, you know, you come to LA, you got, like when I first moved to my apartment, you got all these guys training, everybody's a trainer. How do you stand out? And like, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are into fitness. I have a lot of friends that are like fitness people and they want to do fitness online and stuff like that.
Right.
What's the key to standing out other than just like, oh, I'm in good shape, you should listen to me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of young, handsome trainers who are actually in Hollywood to be actors.
Yeah.
And they need to get a job along the way. And so they work as trainers. And when I first came to Hollywood, I thought to myself, oh, look at this guy. So handsome. It's like on their way to stardom, but working as a trainer in between. I think the big difference is enthusiasm and result. I think that if you're with someone that really wants to help you and has great enthusiasm to go through the process with you quickly and effectively, but also someone who is die hard about results. I mean, our befores and afters are better than anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And those are done in days, not weeks or months.
Yeah.
And so you take someone like Mark,
Right.
you know,
Can't wait for this.
handsome little,
I don't fucking believe this.
handsome devil. Yeah. You know, and you think to yourself, well, how much could someone like Mark change in 3 weeks? I mean, if all he's going to do is eat different, if he's going to work out just an hour a day with me and he's going to get some extra sleep, the answer is kaboom. With 3 O's, kaboom.
Yeah.
He's going to look unbelievable. And and I think that, you know, he might not fit in an airplane seat anymore because he'll be so broad.
Too jacked to the
And,
tits. What's up?
At first, I'll be his trainer. After 21 days, I'll be his bodyguard for all the women that are clamoring just to get a piece of his.
I would love this.
Yeah.
So it's just someone with a plan and a method who knows he can get results. And then you sort of you leave a wake of in-shape people behind you. And so when I got to Hollywood, I started working with movie actors right away. And
How did you do that? How does someone just move to Hollywood?
That's a great question. Yeah. How does someone
connection?
I moved to Hollywood and I didn't know anyone at all. Literally, I knew no one at all. And as the moving van was pulling up and the guys were taking my furniture into my new house right underneath the Hollywood sign, I thought to myself, man, moving to a new city like this is like the death of a personal trainer because it's all connections and who you know. And I didn't know anybody. At that moment, a large man came across the street who looked kind of like Fabio, kind of a big guy. He's like, hey, my name's Carl. I'm your neighbor. What do you do? And I said, my name's Eric. I'm a personal trainer from New York City. He said, great. You work for me. I'll see you tomorrow morning. And then turned around and left. And there was an address on the card. And I was like, this is amazing. I was like, oh. And so I showed up, you know, in my rented car the next morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I barely made it to the gym. It was in West Hollywood. And there was Carl. He goes, there's your first client. It was Kevin Spacey.
Wow.
And so, and by the way, he was great. I never had any problems with him. You know, I know there's been a lot of negative press, but I can tell you as someone that dealt with him directly, he was awesome and super nice and a terrific actor and getting ready for a movie called American Beauty.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
and I mean, and so I started working with movie actors and producers, and I just left a wake of people that were in shape behind me, and word gets around. Actually, I think no matter what you do, whether you're a butcher or a hairstylist or a trainer, anyone in the service industry, if you're really good at what you do and you love what you do, and people can see that authenticity, word travels fast. And the next thing you know, I was slammed, really, really busy, and And at a certain point, I had more clients wanting to work out than I had hours in the day. And so I thought to myself, could I replicate myself? And I took on an apprentice. His name was Ivan. And I, he speaks Spanish, which I thought would be a really cool thing because people speak Spanish here in Los Angeles. And Ivan and I still work together today. Ivan, the trainer, is amazing.
He's great.
He tours with the Strokes and trains the Strokes. He also tours with Fall Out Boy and trains those guys. A lot of our top celebrities he trains. And we've got we're like brothers. And so one after another, I had these different apprentices, and now there's like 8 of us at the gym.
How do you keep such a positive mindset? Because when you listen to you talk, you just hear the enthusiasm and just like good vibes.
I can tell you this.
A lot of our viewers, like we try to talk about like spreading positivity, keeping a positive mindset, because like especially during a time right now, quarantine, people are like down on themselves, like life sucks. You know?
It's been a hard time for a lot of people, and it's totally understandable. And there is a lot of uncertainty in the world. But I can tell you this, for your viewers that have been to Maine, have you seen the mosquitoes in Maine? They're like the size of a Buick. Also, there's a lot of snow, and that's not in the winter. That's like in the fall. So it's cold, and there's a lot of trees. My high school girlfriend had a beard larger than Grizzly Adams. And so if you want to know, I'm always in a good mood because I wake up and I see palm trees, and I get a chance to hang out with my favorite musicians and actors. I have a great life. I think it gives you perspective. I think, Pierson, you grew up on a farm. You know what hard work is. I mean, I remember shoveling out the pig's pen when I was 11, 12, 13 years old and listening to Def Leppard on the cassette and thinking, how am I going to ever get out of here? Like there was a certain point where it's kind of an interesting moment of truth where you're no longer a child, but you're not an adult. Usually for most people, it's around anywhere between 12 and a half to 15 years old, where suddenly you have that realization that you can think things through and you're not an adult, but you're no longer a child. And you think to yourself, wow, how am I going to get out of here?
How did you get out of there?
Well,
Like,
first of all,
how were you able to move to New York?
well, first of all, at that moment that I realized that it was going to be a struggle to get off the farm and leave Maine, because Maine is a vast state, and there seems to be like magnetic energy that pulls you to stay there.
Yeah, it's a trap. It's like a black hole.
It is. It is.
Everything
I think out of the kids I graduated from high school, it was some astonishing figure like 70% stayed within the state and only 30% made it out. It's kind of, it's kind of like Alcatraz.
It's like Ohio. Like
it's like Ohio, dude.
I am literally the only person out of like my friend group that moved out of Moses Lake, Washington. So I get that 110%.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people actually moved out, but now everyone that moved out outside of one came back.
No way.
Yeah, which blows my mind. It's shocking. So what did you do to like permanize that?
Like, where was your risk?
Yeah.
We always talk about risk.
Yeah. I mean, I went to college in Connecticut and I had a great time in college. And
did you study fitness?
No, I studied English literature.
Wow.
And I can write. And I didn't think that would ever help me as a trainer, but I write for Muscle and Fitness magazine and a lot of the other big magazines and online periodicals. I write more now than I ever did in college. Like, it's amazing to know how to write. But what I did was I took a big chance on myself. I didn't have a lot of money when I graduated from college. I was actually $33,000 in debt because I had student loans. And so I had that moment where I could have gone home and tried to work to earn some money. And instead, I actually, my big risk was I took a credit card and gave myself a massive cash advance. And I figured it was either the dumbest thing because the interest rates on those credit cards are huge.
20%.
Like, I think it was like 24%. It was something crazy. And I thought to myself, this is either the dumbest thing I've ever done, or I can look at it in a different way. I'm going to invest in myself. Because if you don't bet on yourself, how can you ever expect anyone else to bet on you?
Yeah.
And it paid off in spades. And so I went to New York. I became a trainer. Very quickly, I became the top trainer in the company. There were 1,500 trainers. And for 5 years, I was their top guy. And as their highest grossing trainer, they allowed me to run essentially focus groups. So I would train men with weights and I would train men only doing body weight activity. I would train women with weights and I would train women only doing body weight. And through those 5 years, I created a method that I realized would deliver an incredible result. And I brought that out to Hollywood.
Is that what, like, so when you moved out to Hollywood, I mean, you got to meet like Arnold and Lou Ferrigno and like Ronnie Coleman, like the greats. Wait.
Yes.
Everybody want to be a bodybuilder.
I have stories about all those guys that you would not believe. I mean, they sound unbelievable. I was a Ronnie Coleman fan forever.
Yeah.
And one day I was at work and I had a long day at work and I was driving home and I forgot something at work. I actually forgot my glasses. So I turned around, even though I thought I could just get them tomorrow. And I drove back and I walked back into the gym. And there sitting in a chair was Ronnie Coleman waiting for me.
No way.
Just randomly. And I was like, holy crap, why is Mr. Olympia waiting for me here?
Yeah.
And he stood up and he said, I've been waiting for you. And I thought, my God, I'm so glad I came back. And I said, how can I help you? And he said, my daughter just moved down the street and I'd like you to train her. It was so cool. I was like, absolutely, sir. I mean, it was crazy. But you know, it's a wonderful time in your life where your heroes suddenly become guys that you can talk to and learn from and spend time with and get to know as people. And it really worked out. It was really nice. And so from the Karate Kid to Def Leppard to Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's worked out well for me. And so now I'm very anxious to give back to the world and very anxious to help mentor young trainers to make them better because a lot of people help me.
I have a lot of friends ask me this because I have a lot of friends that are in like the far end of the spectrum in the fitness industry. And I had one buddy that did steroids at like 17 or something like that. He got huge real quick.
Whoa.
But there is actually, I personally, I don't really mind because I think it's kind of like, I'm like, yeah, I don't recommend doing it at any point. I'm not a doctor or anything like that.
Right.
But if you want to do that because that's like your career and that's your craft, I'm like, let's see what you can do. It's kind of like a painting in a way.
Right.
But is there a time, like I have a buddy who he just hit 70 and he's like, I actually want to get on a pro hormone.
Right.
Is there a time in like men and women's lives that it's actually a good idea to start investing into like a pro hormone or like talking with your doctor about something like that?
Also, while we're on this topic, I need to get my testosterone levels up because my sex drive is no bueno.
This guy is so funny.
No bueno.
Yeah. So what you're really talking about is an anti-aging protocol, an anti-aging program.
How do we biohack ourselves?
Easy. I mean, anti-aging programs are so commonplace now that you would be hard pressed to find an actor, a successful actor in Hollywood over 40 that's not doing it. I mean, that would be hard.
Yeah.
Because the notion that you can potentially remain physically relevant and youthful as an adult for 30 or 40 years is very real. I mean, if you look at someone like Nicolas Cage, I mean, Nicolas Cage looked like Nicolas Cage for like 30 or 40 years.
Look at Pharrell. Pharrell's looked the same since freaking.
I mean, Pharrell looks like he's 18 and the dude's probably like 95 years old. He's perfect.
But the idea that you can take a little tiny bit of testosterone, a little tiny bit of HCG, a little tiny bit of amino acids and DHEA and different supplements and remain physically relevant without going full-blown steroids. It's a reality. I mean, most dentists and lawyers that are successful are on anti-aging programs. And my favorite example of the best anti-aging program is Mario Lopez. That guy looks younger now than he did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And he is a charming, charismatic guy who cares about his good looks because he's in the entertainment business, and he's got a fantastic anti-aging doctor who I know very well, and he takes care of himself, and he exudes confidence and charisma on screen and off. I think he's amazing.
Are there any supplements? Like I take, like my B vitamins, D vitamin, and then I got onto the NAD plus, the like anti-aging stuff that Joe Rogan's guy started talking about back in the day.
Right.
Is that? I can't remember. Tyler, would you look up his name as Dr. something? But the anti-aging
Dr. something.
Dr. something. It's the anti-aging guy from Joe Rogan's podcast. I remember his name from a minute ago. But are there things that like we can take that are just over the counter that?
Well, I mean, hormone replacement therapy is something that you should do with a doctor.
Right.
There are ways of getting some of those substances illegally, but I wouldn't suggest it because the substances might be tainted or not real.
Right.
Or you might give yourself too little or too much. And I've had every type of situation come into my office.
Yeah.
I had a Hollywood actor come into my office who I admire from afar. I've never met him before. He came into my office and he goes, "May I close the door?" And I was like, sure. Nice to meet you, dude. I love your work. Closed the door and burst into tears. And I was like, what is going on? And he said, I was on a cycle for a film. When the film was over, I stopped taking all of the substances. And at that moment, my testosterone shot down. My girlfriend left me. I fell into a deep depression, and my agent just dropped me because of my attitude. Help. You know, and it was one of those things where I actually had to call an anti-aging doctor that I know well and make a referral because this guy needed to get his hormones back in check. But I heard a statistic about a month or two ago that 65% of all men between the age of 35 and 70 that are currently on antidepressants actually suffer from low testosterone. And if they were to do some basic testosterone replacement therapy, their mood and their demeanor would change. So perhaps it wouldn't be as necessary to take the antidepressants. I thought that was a very interesting thing because, you know, your hormones really determine not only your physicality, but your mood, your mindset. And for many people that are sort of middle age and older, you know, it's a decision that you need to make. It's almost like the decision between taking Propecia and not taking Propecia.
Yeah.
I had an actor that I was working with, and I could see he was starting to go bald a little bit. And I said, hey, man, for what it's worth, you might want to take Propecia because it'll give you something called a photograph where it freezes your hair where it is.
Yeah.
You won't necessarily grow new hair, but you won't lose your hair. And he was like, nobody cares. Well, 10 years later, you see him around now. He looks like Mr. Whipple, the baldy guy, and he wishes he had taken Propecia.
Yo, that honestly, I probably haven't said this on the podcast before, but I take Propecia. My manager called me out. And he was like, "Yo, you're 21 and your hairline's starting to look like a toothpick.
Right?
Just like get on it." And I was like, "All right." And a lot of guys, like, I got instantly thrown fear, and they're like, your testosterone levels are going to drop to nothing. You're never going to get a boner again. And I was like, oh my God, this might actually happen.
I don't even take Propecia, and that happens to me.
But I got on it. And if I look at my hairline versus my brother's, and we all have, you know, the same genetics virtually, and maybe I got blessed with a little bit luckier of the draw.
Right.
But like my brothers are suffering from like severe hair loss and at my age range, they had worse hairlines than I did.
Right.
And it's not to like, I guess, a hairline shame or anything like that. It's just to say, like, if you want to keep it, just start it.
Right.
And like,
is there side effects though? Is that why people are?
Yeah, the side effects are that you don't get prostate cancer, which is fucking awesome because that's what Propecia was initially designed for, was inflammation of the prostate. And what it did was it took down the swelling of the prostate, but in turn, one of the side effects was that it kept in your hair. And in turn, it can also the whole process is it takes testosterone and the free testosterone that's in your body, and it keeps it from converting to dihydrotestosterone. Is that correct? DHT. And DHT is what causes our hair follicles to shrink and then push themselves out and fall out and then causes the hairline to recede. Tell me if I...
This guy's a scientist. That's awesome. Where do you find these roommates?
He fucking has the most random ass
I know.
facts,
He's awesome.
He knows everything about everything.
That is so cool.
Kinda. I have a weird encyclopedia of information.
I love it.
Tyler, did you look up that doctor by chance? Who? Dr. Key. No, that's not him. Dr. something.
How do
something.
I get my testosterone up, bro?
Yeah, oh yeah, Dr. David Sinclair. Go watch that podcast on anti-aging if you guys ever want to like look up some crazy anti-aging.
I mean, I don't know that I have low testosterone. I'm basing it off all sex drive.
Right. Well, actually, I mean, it is a number that people should know. So for those viewers out there that wonder, like, I don't feel quite as sexually driven as I used to. I feel a little lethargic. I've been working out, but I'm not seeing the results that I used to see. And this can happen anytime after 27. Then I think that they should get their testosterone checked.
Yeah.
And many times it's quite low, and it can easily be altered to a more normal range where you don't have to look like a bodybuilder, but you feel like yourself. I mean, the notion of feeling like yourself is real, and it's bioavailable. So there's no reason for you to mellow out and turn into your dad when you can actually remain a physically relevant, active member of a community that knows you as the guy you are.
Can you just go to any doctor, or do you have to like look up somebody online? Can you get a test in the mail? Like what
right.
can you do?
My suggestion is to look up a good anti-aging doctor, either get a referral from someone that you know is involved with it, a trainer like me, a professional, or go online and look up anti-aging clinics. They're everywhere. And the cost has come down so low. I mean, the cost used to be prohibitive. So only the movie stars and the very, very top agents and doctors themselves could get it. And now it's very inexpensive, where it's in the hundreds of dollars, not the thousands.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's a decision. All these things are a decision. You know, life is so interesting because the only definite thing we all know is that we all will get older and we all will eventually pass away. But along the way, you can make certain decisions to extend your life, to have a better quality of life. And by deciding not to do that, that's a decision also. And to me, it's very, very interesting. I mean, everything from trainers themselves that are in great shape in their 20s and 30s, and then these same trainers that work in the gym all the time in their 40s and 50s, they kind of let themselves go.
Yeah.
That's a decision too. I mean, it's kind of weird. And then sometimes you're watching a movie and you see an actor and then you look closely and you're like, oh my goodness, that's so-and-so. I would barely recognize them because they've kind of let themselves go. So
Yeah.
I would encourage people to find a place that you're comfortable and then maintain that place. And that's who you are.
That's really interesting. That's
Yeah.
really good perspective.
Oh yeah.
Do you have another question?
I mean, I've seen the other side of things too. They're like, eat the fucking pie, eat the cake.
Well, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you can't.
No, I think in our field for sure, like I definitely want to like maintain like good body image and health.
I just
yeah.
feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's such a big thing too, is like a lot of people think you have to work out just to be jacked to the tits. Like obviously I say that a lot in the vlogs, and that's just for, it's fun. It's fun to say that. But also like if I was still back in Moses Lake, Washington, back on the farm, I just want functional muscle and I want to feel good when I wake up. Like I don't want to feel like trash when I'm 45 years old and be like, oh, I got my bum knee and I hang out at the bar for the rest of my life. I want to feel good. I want to go like, if I had like kids or a family or anything, like I want to be able to play around. What's like, how do they maintain that process? Do they have to do this for the rest of their life? What is the process?
Well, the process is, first of all, making the decision that you want to get into great shape.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to mention to your listeners that there is a connection between you being in shape and your self-esteem being high.
Yeah.
So people that don't choose to get into shape, and it's okay if you don't want to work out, I'm not going to force anyone, but if you choose not to, at a certain point, you might not like the way that you look or feel, and that can dramatically affect your self-esteem, which affects everything.
Yeah.
So I would encourage people to exercise each day and to take care of themselves. Also realize it's much easier to stay in shape than it is to get in shape. So initially, if you work with someone like me, a certified trainer, or anyone else that's a professional to help you go from normal to extraordinary, that's the challenge. But once we reach a place where you look and feel terrific, you can actually stay on that path and still cheat a little bit. So I can tell you that on my wedding night, I had French fries. And it was kind of a romantic, super fun thing.
Disgusting.
I know.
Well, I can attest to the whole self-esteem thing because I was extreme. I don't know. I showed you my picture that I used to look. I was like 30-something pounds, 40 pounds heavier.
Right.
And then I just got in shape, and it was just like looking at myself and looking at the scale every day to see that my weight went down. My confidence went through the roof. It's like getting a new outfit and wearing it for the first time, but like with your body.
Yeah.
Like every day,
That's a good example.
Yeah, like you feel good in your outfit, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh hell yeah, like I feel confident in this new outfit. Every day when you work out, that's like that same feeling.
Yo,
Right.
for real. I mean, so like, I don't think we'd met by the time I put on. So I went from 190 to 235, and I put on a bunch of weight in I think it was about a period of 2 months roughly. And it was for this football movie, and I was playing a fullback from 1980. His name was Brad Gaines for this movie called It's Time, and I put on all this weight, and it was great, and I looked just like Brad. Like it was so close, outside of my skinny ass legs that I couldn't do anything about. But I put on all that weight, but after I left, I came straight back to Bold and Beautiful, and like my schedule was super tight, and I had like back-to-back shooting, and eventually I didn't like convert that muscle and all that extra like added padding of fat tissue as well back to like the weight that I had to maintain. And eventually it started like my metabolism had slowed down a little bit, and I was like, I started to feel like my cheeks were getting fat, and I was like, oh fuck, what's going on? And I realized, and I was looking in the mirror, and I just like, I never felt good taking my shirt off, and I never felt good like taking a photo without like being like, yo, just fucking stretch out that chin, man. Fucking stretch it out. Fucking stretch it out. And like really trying to I had to force myself to find those angles instead of just being comfortable.
Right.
And I think that's like, I love the analogy of like, it's like putting on a new pair of clothes. And as soon as I made the decision, like what you're talking about, I was like, fuck, I don't, and I felt like this for like the better part of a year, and I couldn't figure out why. Because I was like, I'm still in shape, like I'm still big,
Right.
but I wasn't all at the same time. And then finally I was like, fuck this. I gotta get back into like my mental game. I gotta get back into my like fitness game. I gotta get back into, I want to feel good.
How much of the battle do you think is mental?
I mean, I think it's all mental. And I also think that to piggyback on what Pierson's saying, if you can get into great shape by yourself or with the help of someone, it actually becomes a reflection on other aspects of your life.
Yeah.
So you work hard in the gym and it's very systematic and you achieve this incredible goal. And then you look at your career and you're like, you know what? My goal is this. And so you start to break it down in little pieces and you can achieve those goals too. And you start to see patterns of success. It starts in the gym, but then it really bleeds out into other aspects of life. And so, because, delegating things in your life to experts is something that some people have a real problem with. There are a lot of people, for whatever reason, maybe it was the way they were brought up, where they're like, I can do it myself. And they struggle with things that they're not experts at. But if you really study the habits of the most successful people in the world, they delegate happily to experts that see the vision they have and that support them and help them implement all of the different things. And so I say go find a great trainer and get into great shape and then see what happens next in your life, because I think it'll open up a whole door of possibilities.
Yeah.
Why do you think it is? I mean, when I'm doing my diet and stuff, I have like a meal prep, right? And like I try to stick to it. Why is it that like I'll hit like a little bit later in the day, then I start to get like that sweet tooth or that? Is that like common?
It's very common. And what it really points to is an energy drop. So your body is craving the sugar because it needs some quick energy. So I would probably look at your sleep schedule. I would look at the frequency of your eating. And I would look at to see what exactly you are eating to see if we can avoid those crashes. So whether you need to get some more rest or whether you need to vary your diet. Some people try to eat only protein and vegetables, and they develop a sweet tooth. There's nothing wrong with fruit. I think fruit gets a bum rap. I eat a lot of grapes. I eat a lot of nectarines and a lot of plums, and it fuels my workout. Even when I was working out with you today, I was eating an orange, and man, it tasted terrific.
Yeah.
I felt like the state of Florida.
Totally.
I mean, I was like, hey, this is nice. And so don't be afraid of natural sweetness. Don't believe the people that tell you there's too much sugar in fruit, because they're crazy.
Yeah. I was listening to somebody talk about that, and like a lot of big bodybuilders that are like down at that like 3% body fat range or the 1%. They're like, oh yeah, I'll have a bowl of cereal before. James Ellis, our buddy. He's like, yeah, I'd have a bowl of Captain Crunch before I come work out because it spikes my insulin levels and I've got so much extra energy. I don't recommend that, but I like the fruit analogy.
Fruit is amazing. And anything that sits in the sun and has the goodness of the sun that's absorbed into it, that goes into your body, ow, it's good stuff.
No, it's true. I also wanted to talk about, and this would be, I want to wrap it up here, but like the idea of like, I do a lot of fasted cardio, and I do a lot of like intermittent fasting, and I love the way that I feel on that. And also like, I think the most difficult part for me when I got into it was like what Mark was saying, when I start craving things, because I'm such a breakfast person. I crave food like almost right when I wake up. But I had to like adjust my ghrelin cycle, the spike in hunger, and I would hit that like 12 to 14 hour window, and I'd go for the run or I'd go for the jog or whatever it might be, and then I'd come back and I'd eat, and I've shortened my windows of eating. Is there a real benefit to that with working out? Do you see testosterone boosting? What do you like from your perspective? What's the biggest benefit to like?
Well, first of all, I love intermittent fasting. I think it's great for people because ultimately, if you go online or read a magazine, there's so much misinformation and false data out there about dieting that contradicts themselves. I mean, it's a big mess.
There's always there's a new trend like every other week.
I don't understand, dude. There's so many, like there's the Atkins diet, there's keto,
right?
Like there's
there's gluten free,
there's no carbs. Yeah. It's like all these can't be good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only tell you what delivers results for me and for my clients, and that is if we have a 8-hour eating window, for example. So let's say you wake up in the morning and you do some stuff, and then at 11 o'clock you have your first meal, and you're eating pretty much every couple hours from 11 to 7. I really see a huge advantage to that because it also ties in with sleep. If you stop eating at 7 o'clock at night, you're going to be tired around 10 o'clock. By going to bed around 10 o'clock or so, you're getting 2 hours of that before midnight sleep, which is twice as beneficial as the hours after midnight. So you're really changing a lot. You wake up and you're ready to rock and roll. It gives you enough energy. I love the 11 to 7 window for intermittent fasting. And also, people sometimes try to eat healthy and then they wonder about quantities and it's just, there's so many ways that you can fail. If you have an 8-hour window, you have a meal at 11 o'clock, you're full until probably 3, 2 or 3, and then you have another meal and then maybe a little something afterwards. You're eating pretty much 3 times during that 8-hour window. It's awesome. I love it. And I would encourage people to try it.
Do you see a big beneficial side effect as far as like muscle growth or fat loss or anything inside of that, or even just mood?
No, both. I think there's muscle growth. I think there's fat loss. And also people sometimes punish themselves psychologically when they think they're eating the wrong things. Yeah. And by creating a small window of eating, it's pretty standardized. And so you have less self-hatred. I can tell you this, in my 51 years of being on this earth, one of the things, the pieces of wisdom I've come to realize is that people are their own worst enemy. And I didn't really know that until a couple of years ago. When you really look at people that are both unsuccessful and very successful, their harshest critics and the biggest obstacles they have in their lives many times are internal. And so if we can all learn to start to avoid those, if we can set up our lives in a way that minimizes those voices in your head that say negative things to you, it really opens up the world for success. And ultimately, as a trainer, my only job in life every day that I go to work is to make these people successful in any way I can.
Dude, that's so awesome. I honestly, this has been such a fucking fun podcast.
So much more to say.
I know, literally. I have so many more questions. I'd love to have another one with you.
Excellent. I'll come on anytime you guys want.
Please. You guys comment down below things that you have, like questions you have for Eric. We'll have him on again for sure. I just want to say thank you for like coming and divulging so much information and knowledge on us. It's always fun for me. I love getting to talk about this. But comment down below what you want to see next time. Thank you, Mark, for adding me.
We're going to figure me out, guys. We got to get me in shape in 21 days.
21 days.
We're going to boost my testosterone.
We'll make it a challenge.
We're going to boost his testes.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for having me on. It was a blast. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it. Subscribe, comment down below, run up the likes. Let's go. Fode Philosophy. What up, the Piercings? How you doing? All right, peace.